Welcome back. Well, China is warning the Trump administration not to restore tariffs on Chinese goods next month to the highest levels after the initial framework agreement last month. China is threatening to retaliate against any country who signs a deal with the United States where Beijing is cut out of supply chains. President Trump sent letters to 8 more countries yesterday, asking them to make a trade deal with the United States or face tariffs beginning on August 1st. China is still not on that list. Joining me now is Gatestone Institute Senior Fellow Gordon Chang. Gordon, good to have you. Thank you so much for being here. Look, President Trump is done negotiating. He sent the letters. He's telling all of these nations, this is your number. This is what you'll be paying. We see the letter that he sent to Brazil at 50%. What are you expecting in terms of China? And what do you make of China's response here, saying, you know, don't go back to the highest tariffs, America?
Yeah, well, President Trump is doing the right thing by these trade deals that he's already put in place, which essentially cut China out of the supply chain. That was evident in the May announcement of the U.S.-UK framework, which prevented the reduced tariff rate from applying to goods made with components that were endangered U.S. national security. And that was also clear from the Vietnam trade deal announced on July 2nd with a higher rate for transshipped goods. So clearly, President Trump is setting the background for a trade deal with China, which probably will come by August 12th. You know, it's going to be very difficult because China is going to be resistant, but they can see the handwriting on the wall. Trump is cutting the Chinese out. And that's a really good thing because we know that they use their position in supply chains to obtain geopolitical goals that are malign to the United States and to our partners and friends.
Yeah, and I think that emblematic of that is this AI deal that was signed this week in Washington between Israel and the United States. The fact that Israel and the U.S. are now going to be partnering on artificial intelligence is a big deal. And I asked the Prime Minister of Israel, Benjamin Netanyahu, about it this week. Here's what he said. Watch.
Where does that leave China?
Well, I think where does it leave the free world? You want the free societies to have the most advanced cutting-edge technology on Earth, and I think we do. But we're also looking at other things. We're looking at oil and gas and the possibility of opening up energy markets, opening up communication markets, opening up trade routes in the Middle East, opening up the trade routes between Asia, India, and Europe, going through the Arabian Peninsula, right through the Israeli, through Israel. I mean, it changes the whole thing. And I have great confidence in the future. And the partnership that I have with President Trump, the partnership that the American people have with Israel, the many friends and alliances that we can make in our region with our friends.
Gordon, I mean, I think, you know, President Trump understands the China threat better than most, but he walks a balance, not wanting to poke the bear too much. But China does not stop with their, you know, with their taunting. Now you've got Germany accusing China of using a laser to target one of their aircrafts during a European Union operation over the Red Sea. Germany's foreign office said that a Chinese warship aimed a laser at a German aircraft on patrol in the Red Sea. China's ambassador has been summoned following this. And I want to get your take on this because China is disputing it, saying that Germany is fully inconsistent with the facts. This accusation comes as concerns grow over China's meddling in European affairs, specifically the war in Ukraine. Gordon?
Yes, for the past decade, China has been lasering planes for the United States and our partners over the East China Sea and in nearby Djibouti by the Red Sea as well. In 2018, China almost brought down a U.S. Air Force C-130 by blinding both of the pilots with a laser. So this has been standard operating procedure for the Chinese. And the thing that's important here is that although the Germans didn't tell us the timing of the incident, it appears it was before those 2 Houthi attacks on the 6th and the 7th of this month on shipping in the Red Sea. So it looks like it was done in coordination with the Houthis. And we've got to remember that China has been supplying targeting data to the Houthis from their satellites. And that targeting data has been used to attack U.S. Navy vessels. So this is really part of a big Chinese plan on the Red Sea. And so we should not listen to the Chinese denials.
Yeah, I mean, China is also reportedly considering sharing its military equipment, including J-10 fighter jets and other weapons, with what it's calling, quote unquote, friendly countries, Gordon. Can you imagine? Iran is seeking a boost to its Air Force defenses after airstrikes from Israel and the United States. And here you have China talking about friendly countries. Obviously, Iran is friendly to China. If China does eventually sell those jets to Iran, how does that impact the current chessboard in the Middle East?
Well, that certainly gives Iran a capability it doesn't have now, because the J-10 is a generation 4.5 plane. It's multi-role. It's quite capable. It's like our F-16, but maybe even better. So clearly, we do not want Iran to have that plane. So far, the only country that has a J-10 is Pakistan. But what's really interesting is that Pakistan also announced it was going to buy the Chinese J-35, which is comparable to our F-35. But fortunately, after the Pakistan Army Chief of Staff met President Trump, Pakistan has said, no, it's not going to buy China's J-35. So this is some really good diplomacy on the part of President Trump.
Yeah, for sure. But, you know, China is I think, has to be recognizing that President Trump in many ways is drawing red lines here. And there are countries across the world choosing sides. You know, I mean, China has been supporting Russia in Russia's war on Ukraine. China has been supporting Iran and you know, you have to believe its proxies in the war against Israel. China is supporting America's adversaries.
Yes, and China actually is a combatant in the war in Ukraine.
Right.
We've got Chinese mercenaries fighting for Russia there. Also, formal People's Liberation Army officers are at the front in Ukraine. Presumably they're as observers or advisors, but China is now sending soldiers there, and it's testing us. And yeah. President Trump shouldn't put up with that either. But you see, with Iran, Iran would not have been able to assault Israel on October 7th were it not for all-in Chinese support. So what we're talking about are China's proxy wars around the world. And while we're talking about this, we might as well include North Africa, where China is fueling insurgencies that look like wars. And some of those insurgencies are targeting the United States.
Yeah, and yet you've got President Trump mediating in that war between the Congo and Rwanda, and actually getting a handle and access to the rare earth minerals in the Congo when you look at cobalt, Gordon. So President Trump is trying to help with regard to peace, but also ensuring that America has a stake in the positive outcomes of that peace.
Yes, and President Trump was hosting West African leaders at the White House. This is really good. You know, previous presidents just ignored the continent. President Trump realizes that this is an area of confrontation and that it's important to the United States as well, especially as you point out with the rare earths. So it is good that the United States is meeting the China challenge everywhere, because China is challenging us everywhere.
Yeah, sure. Gordon, great to talk with you. Thanks so much.